Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast brought to you by Twisted Tea and My Bookie. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What's up, you old walking bastard?
What's going on? Oh my gosh, buddy.
How much pain are you in right now?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm not so bad right now. It's when you go to get up or you go to sit down. Sitting, so at a rest, I'm like at a 7 because my as you can see, my feet are all jacked up and I'm just barely. I mean, I am dead dog tired, dude. We got done, and intervals. You got to come down for a little bit. My wife got to hang out for a little bit. But that last 2 hours, I was by myself and in my head. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how, I did like a half marathon. I don't know how whole marathon people do that. In fact, it was so funny. One of the comments that I kept seeing a lot was like, just do that 0.1. And I'm like, nobody does the 0.1 if they don't have to, because as soon as that clock hit 13, I was done. There was no way in hell I was going to get that last 0.1 because I thought that at the start,
Yeah.
And it was, I went to a track. The track that we're at, it's 0.4 miles per go, So my mind, I'm just kind of, I'll never forget this morning. It's like 6 when it starts. I do my first.
How long did it take you?
6 hours.
6 hours, yeah.
6 hours to do it. Right at a 30-minute pace, but that last one was 35 minutes. And I messed up because when I was going toward the end, I said, I'm going to take it easy on the last little bit, Plus, I had a dizzy spell. I was like, I don't want to die on this track. I can only imagine the Gator fans just dragging me through the mud. I was like, I'm not going out this way, but I caught myself. So I was like, I need some water. So I slowed down and I went back to the truck to get water. And that was the worst mistake I made because, well, I'm sure I needed the water, but I shouldn't have slowed my pace. Because that last half mile, dude, it felt like I would never get it done, and but I did, man. I did. It got to a point in my mind. I was like, okay, so when it was 0.8, if I go like 1.0, I don't even know measurements, but because on my watch it just kind of kept up with it. So I was like, if I walk that amount of distance away from the truck, when I come back, I'll hit it, And then in my mind, I was like, that's just right there, And then I kept going. I was like, dude, how far is 0.1, So, but no, again, thanks for all the support, everybody jump online there behind me. And, and there's a lot of people that, worried about my sweating habits and whatever, It's like, dude, if I could switch my body right now to prove it was done, I would do it in a heartbeat.
So I've been wanting to ask you this all day. How's it feel to be Tennessee's leading rusher?
Oh, I will say this, it felt really good after just the completion of it.
Yeah.
I can't explain
I didn't think you'd do it, or I didn't think you'd make it. I was trying to figure out ways to how we could cheat it.
Well, it's funny because when I started the second, that's the thing, it's like your watch. I thought maybe if I show them the actual numbers, they'll see. But people are like that.
I can confirm. I walk there every day, twice a day. I've never seen Cousin Shane over there, and we went this morning, and he was already several miles in.
I saw the weather. As you can see, I'm beat red, man. I was like, if I don't get at this early, I'm gonna. And that's part of the problem is just that last little bit. I think it got up to high 70s, That's another thing. We're not in Gainesville, I mean, the weather's pretty good up here, but it felt like it was 95 degrees out there when I got done. But yeah, all in all, I wish I didn't have to walk at all because you remember, I mean, you were talking about reliving a football game. Walked 13 miles because of it, and I replayed every mistake that we made, and options. In fact, I put out there, I was hoping Heupel would see it. My little hint on decisions, but all in all, I'm glad I got it done. But when I got back after we ate, I passed out. My wife woke me up and said, "Don't you got to go do a pod?" I was like, I thought about just calling you and saying, "Just do it without me."
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what the next stunt is, but hopefully it won't be
It will
walking.
not involve that. I thought about my next lock, and I'm like, if they lose, I'll do 1,000 push-ups for every point. And I was like, no more physical stuff. I'd rather shave my face or something than do something like that.
Yeah, the mustache, it's not even that bad. It took me a couple seconds,
Because part of you is like, man, this was a 19-point game there for a minute, and even the field goal, that was the one that got me. When I hit that 3-mile marker, I thought about the field goal we didn't take there in the red zone. I was like, I know it wouldn't have helped us, but it would have helped me right now.
Well, all right, buddy, we got a bunch of games to get into,
Yes.
and I'll tell you who needs help, and that's Alabama.
Yeah.
Because they got a big game here. Ole Miss coming to down. SEC on CBS Game of the Week. And I don't know if you've seen this while you've been doing all these steps, Shane. I think you've been locked in on the trails. But there's been Josh Pate, and now I've seen Paul Feinbaum. They've both said the same thing. And if both of them are saying it, I feel like it's pretty true. But they're saying that the team basically quit on Saban after he pulled Jalen Milroe. And you notice it didn't take a week of practice to name Jalen Milroe. It was, hell, he did that. I think that was the first thing out of his damn mouth, out of his Monday press conference. We're going back to Jalen Milroe as our quarterback. So, I don't know. Let me ask you this, Shane, because, what does that say about the greatest coach of all time? We know it's a new era, NIL, transfer portal, players can leave. And I keep hearing people say, he needs to get on their ass. He needs to light them up and do this and do that like he used to do.
Yeah.
You can't do it anymore. These guys will jump in that portal. They got a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card. Thoughts on, and again, I don't know, but again, if Peyton's saying it and Feinbaum are saying it, it's troubling that the team basically no-showed against South Florida.
Well, Mike, I've thought about a lot of things today, and this was one of those topics. But I thought something different. I was listening to yours and Steve's pod from yesterday. It was a great show. What if he's playing chess while everybody's playing checkers? It's like, who was really out on Jalen? The fans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
By God, they're not anymore.
Dude, we piled on him, and I'm not saying that Nick Saban would sabotage any game.
Yeah.
But the thought came across my mind, like, what if he made it that difficult? You gotta realize they only gave up 3 points.
Yeah.
Maybe Saban
And that was after a turnover, McKinstry fumble.
Exactly.
So they virtually gave up nothing.
Maybe Saban wasn't worried at all about this game. He knew they were going to struggle. Maybe he put those quarterbacks in a bad situation. And I don't think you go into a game, trying not to win, but you want to eliminate quarterback controversy, you make it tough as hell. And maybe this is the long game here. I'm always, I guess I got my little tinfoil hat right now.
You've had a lot of time to think about it.
I was like, what if? It came to me. I was walking, I was like, wait a minute. Because you were talking about Lane Kiffin playing games with Nick Saban, talking about the coaching changes and stuff like that. And I was like, well, who's the king of manipulation is Nick Saban. What if this was his approach to get everyone back on the bandwagon with Jalen and know that he's going to give us the best opportunity to win? You may not like it, but now you've seen your other options. You like this one a lot more.
Right. And, that is like 3D chess right there.
Yeah.
And even if maybe they did, I don't want to say pull Kevin Steele's play calling role, but maybe they let T-Rob do it, because they knew Kiffin would see that, and they'd be preparing for that.
Yeah.
And then here the switcheroo Kevin Steele calls on set. We could go another layer with this, but I'm loving it, Shane, because I think this is a must-win.
Yeah.
And I never would have said that before. But Alabama, if they lose this with allegations of players quitting and this and that and going back and forth with all these quarterbacks and coaching drama, I mean, I said it on Feinbaum, 7-5.
Yeah.
People mocking me for that. Hell, they mocked me for decaying dynasty too, and that's come true. I mean, I think the LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, A&M, all these teams could beat Alabama if they quit, if they played like they did against South Florida, and I think they will if they lose to Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team, because I think, by God, the expectation is to beat the hell out of a team like Ole Miss, especially at home.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is, and you talk about just electrifying this fan base again, beating a top 25 team and beating Lane Kiffin. I think that this is that whole homecoming, that's kind of what this feels like, is a game that means a little bit more, and they've got to win. They have to win, or the whole decaying dynasty gets amplified by a million.
Yeah.
Tyler Booker mentioned that the players met yesterday, players-only meeting, and he said togetherness was a real point of emphasis for them. How would you assess the togetherness of this group?
Well, I've been pleased with it. I think this was, the first game where I saw some guys, a little frustrated. And I think the frustration came maybe because we weren't as focused as we needed to be, which is my responsibility. So players go out and make some mistakes and things don't go well, and they get frustrated. And as a competitor, you never want to get frustrated. You always want to play the next play. But I think we've talked about how everybody needs to buy in to doing the things they need to do to make their contribution to the team to play winning football. And I think as time goes on and the season goes on, everybody's role gets a little bit more clearly defined. Some guys may be disappointed in their role, but they have to buy into that if they want to make a contribution to the team in a positive way, whether it's on special teams or, being a player that gets an opportunity because somebody's down, whatever that might be.
And what is your perspective or feel on this team? Because despite what that outside noise might be, this team is sitting at 2-1, about to start SEC play and plenty to play for this season.
Look, I like the team. I got confidence in our team. I really do. We've had some tough stretches before, and players have bounced back, but I think everybody's got to make a commitment to doing that, and it's not easy. We got really tough competition coming up, but everybody's got to challenge themselves, I think, to be their best as a player, be their best as a team guy, be their best as a leader, and I've liked this group so far. I just think, our execution has got to get a little
Now,
more
how about the other
consistent.
side, Shane? Ole Miss coming in 3-0, looking good, high flying, still not quite running the ball like we'd anticipate. But Jackson Dart looks like a star.
Yeah,
Could be by the end of the season if he keeps it up, maybe the best quarterback in the league. They're missing some weapons. Receivers are hurt. Judkins, I didn't think he was going to play in that last game against Georgia Tech. He did play. Again, another so-so performance. I put that more on the offensive line than I do him.
yeah.
But this may be the best shot that Lane Kiffin gets to beat Nick Saban at Alabama. And again, this is, if Ole Miss can't beat this team, this Alabama team, I don't know how they're going to beat LSU. I don't know how they're going to beat A&M.
Yeah.
And the gauntlet they got. So I don't think there's pressure on Ole Miss to win it, but I think they got a lot to prove, and this is an opportunity for them to finally show the country that they're legit and they're not just feasting on these cupcakes like they have the last 2 years.
I think Lane Kiffin would prefer that they beat Texas and that they killed South Florida, Like, this game feels a little bit heavier just because they're struggling and that old narrative that they're coming down while we're moving up. And Ole Miss has not had a fantastic season. Obviously they're 3-0 and they've found ways to win games, but anybody that's been watching them since week 1, there's not been, a game that I'm just like, man, they got it, a complete game like LSU had last week. I've not seen a complete game, but they're going to have to play perfectly, flawlessly if they're going to beat Alabama, because forget all the turmoil that's going on that side. This is still a roster full of 4- and 5-star talent, and it's deep as hell, and now they've got a little extra salt in this game,
What do you think is the path for Ole Miss to get that W? Well, maybe there's 3, but Is it Jackson Dart taking over and continuing his growth and showing he's elite? Is it Judkins being who he thought he was? And again, maybe it's not even him. It's the offensive line coming together. Which one do you think has to lead the charge? Or, and this is probably the correct answer, is why I said there's probably three. It's probably both. It's probably balance, where Alabama does not know what's coming. Because Alabama's so damn good defensively that if you get one-dimensional, they'll kill you. So I don't know which path do you think is the most realistic to Ole Miss pulling the upset here on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a good one, and I think it's keeping that defense on the field, shortening the game, eliminating opportunities. That's what it's going to come down to. That's the recipe for all the Alabamas and Georgias and LSUs. It's like if you can shorten the game. Look at Texas and Wyoming last week. That's exactly what they did. It's just if they could keep the ball out of Alabama's hands, and then when they're out there, force them to make another turnover, then all of a sudden you're down a couple scores and you're feeling pretty good because of the track record of Jalen and company. So
yeah.
I think that's the game. But you hit the nail on the head. You've got one, if not the best running back in the country, and we've got nothing. So I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if it's this offensive line or maybe you've been holding them back for this game. But we have got to get some production with the running attack. And if we don't have that, then Alabama will win.
And then the one thing we haven't even hit on, Shane, Pete Golding, kind of his revenge game, his return to Alabama.
Absolutely.
Fans hate him.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they like
That's
what they got
right.
now. You know what I mean? So added subplot there. He knows the personnel. Of course, they know him.
Kiffin's exes. He's probably got a few running around down there. I mean,
So there's a lot to watch. This is a game full of drama and storylines.
yeah.
You know what?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Well, another one, Shane. A lot of big SEC West battles this week. Auburn at Texas A&M. And by God, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If Texas A&M can't win this game against...
Why do we say that every week? It's like every week we give Jimbo an ultimatum. It's like, if he loses this week, we're firing him, right? It's like, yeah, sure. So there are going to be a lot of those games. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I like how you're teeing it up there.
They just have to win, though. Because, hell, that was so disappointing against Miami. But we've cleared it. We've come back. We bounced back, beat the hell out of some snub team last week. I get it. But no one cares about that. They care about what you do in the league. And this is, by all accounts, at best, maybe the fifth best team in the West.
Yeah.
But probably sixth. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But they're not a true contender by most accounts. Maybe they catch fire. But at home, a lot on the line. And, again, Auburn... their offense is not even that good.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your weakness is their weakness.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse to me if Auburn's defense corrals A&M's offense, we got real problems over here.
Yeah, but Auburn has nothing to lose in this game. Absolutely. Yeah. Just to gain, even a close game. I don't believe in moral victories, but a guy coming in, taking in over this program, you talk about getting the fan base excited, putting Jimbo up against the ropes. This is a game. There's a couple of these games. We talked about this when we were doing the schedule early. It's like there's a couple of games that could get Jimbo fired, and there's a couple of games that will cement the fact that Hugh Freeze is going to be very successful in this league. This is one of them.
Yeah.
So it's not a 50-50 game, and no one's expecting A&M to lose. But if they do, yeah. The problem with Jimbo is he had some wiggle room, He had a little bit of but he lost it. I'm sorry, I can't find my words, but he lost it with Miami.
Yeah.
There is no more excuses or pointing of fingers and stuff like that. It's out the window. So this is
It's maybe a different story if you're a big underdog and you lose.
Yeah.
But when you're the favorite and you get embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because that's happened a time too many in College Station under Jimbo Fisher. So that's why I say, I'm still anticipating this run. With Alabama struggling,
Yeah.
Again, most people are looking at LSU, and that's probably the right way to look. But it opens the door for A&M too.
Yeah.
Because they host Bama, and they catch LSU late. And who knows? What does Brian Kelly say at media days? And he kind of echoed it this week. We are a work in progress. We got holes. And a team that's got holes, those get exposed by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I realize they got to go to LSU, but by that time, I mean, God forbid, I don't want to even mention names, but if they're down 2-star players, LSU's a completely different team.
Yeah.
Whereas at A&M, where we got 20 good star linemen, we don't want to lose any, but it won't cripple us like it could LSU. You know what I mean? So the door is cracked for A&M. They got to kick that bad boy down, and it's got to start here in SEC play against Auburn.
Yeah, Coach, defensively, do you feel like you saw the response or the progress from Miami?
Well, we'll see. I mean, and we weren't playing the same kind of opponent, but again, I said this: we got beat physically in the Miami game. We weren't guys running scot-free. We got beat on physical. Man, guy got beat in a one-on-one or things like that. So hopefully we'll continue to do that, and we'll go against good guys in practice. And listen, their receivers last week, they had 2 or 3 guys have a shot at really good players. So I think we played a lot better there. So I think there's always things that way you're trying to improve and do better. I mean, it's not like you're blowing coverages. It's not like you're doing different things. You got to win those one-on-one battles, and then you got to help with technique and then other pressures and do different things in which we can do. But hopefully we'll see the step up this week as the level of competition steps up in the SEC. We'll find out. But I liked where we did. I thought we played well. Thought we practiced right. We gave up 4 first downs until the last drive. And I don't care. That's hard to do on anything. And that's also a team that just beat a really good Army team who beat a really good UTSA team here. It's not like, that ULM had some good players, man. Had some really good players. So it's not like, and I'm not saying that. I mean, it's just you had good competition. Now we'll find out we step up another level.
Coach, I know coaching staffs and teams are always evolving anyway, but 3 games in with a new coaching staff for them, how much can you get a feel for what they're trying to do, especially with the guys that they had last year and maybe how they're different?
Well, and I think you go back to their past histories too. I mean, guys don't ever deviate very far. I mean, you're not going to say guys don't go from running the wishbone to the run and shoot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's going to be, and now how they use their players, that's the thing you got to be, who their feature guy is, what are they trying to do different, how are they trying to, and they're probably still learning their guys too a little bit and certain talents to how to feature guys to get them the ball or different things, but it stays relatively similar. But then again, that's why you got to teach. When you teach offense and defense, you're teaching concepts, and it's not everything you do has a rule based off. It's a 3-man group, a 4-man surface, a 2-man surface, a 4-man side, a 3-man side, a 2-man side. So how your rules apply. So if there is different things that happen, which always are in a game, you have rules that apply to it. So that's part of the early season things in which you go. I mean, and that's why you got to teach conceptually and not just, you're not memorizing exactly what they do all the time.
Hugh, when you look at Texas A&M defensively, they rank 3rd nationally in 3rd down defense. How does that concern you about what you're going to face on 3rd downs this Saturday, and then for your offense, just trying to convert those on the road?
It's a great concern. I want to be really clear. We're playing a team. I'm probably too candid and honest sometimes for some people, but let's just be really clear. We're getting ready to play 3 teams that have, over the last 4 to 5 years, ranked in the top 7 to 5 in recruiting. All right, so you're playing the best recruits in the nation, and we're going to be there soon, and that doesn't mean you can't compete and doesn't mean you can't win the game and all of that, but there's a reason they're 3rd in the nation on 3rd down defense. Is they've got a bunch of 5-stars in the defensive line and at linebacker and at safety and at corner. I mean, they're really, really talented. And when you put on the film, you see that. I mean, their closing speed's incredible. They're physical up front, and it's a tall challenge for us in year 1 to stand toe-to-toe with A&M and Georgia next week and LSU the following week. That it's our goal to get there, but that's what reality is we've had about 8 months to recruit a half a class, and these others have been stacking it, And that's why they're ranked third in the country in third down defense. Is they're incredibly talented.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, he's gonna. I love how Hugh. It's funny. It's like never took him as an honest person, but these post games and pre-game interviews, it's like he's telling you exactly what the coach is feeling, And I think that's a fantastic move, is because and that you talk about the little extra icing on the cake coming into this one when he's coming out and he's saying, hey, we don't have 3 or 4 classes, we have like 1.5.
Yeah.
We're barely getting by. And so, again, pulling them down. And then if they beat Texas A&M, they look at all that and say, look, they just had 1.5 classes, We had 4. What the hell?
So you think this is more mind games by Hugh, just setting the bar low?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's working the media,
But do you think that's because he feels good about his team and he thinks he can gain more goodwill, or he thinks, all right, we got some real issues that could be about to be exploited, and I don't want everyone jumping on me if we're 3-3 in 3 weeks.
Great, yeah. I think that's more. It's just job security. Not that he's going to lose his job or anything, but you bring that bar down. So then when you have a loss, you're like, we knew this was coming.
Yeah.
But next year after, give them some recruiting classes.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Well, you say, I mean, I kind of kid, but you say. He's on a cool seat, but all these damn coaches, man, they love you till you lose one. Beamer can't coach a lick. Just get rid of Sam. Hell, they about had Drink fired a week ago. He just had his biggest win of his career. I mean, it don't take long to get on that hot seat.
He's doing it right. He's 3-0,
right.
And you wouldn't think in this game that would be the team that's undefeated. And so you putting away the games that are meant to be close or you're meant to be a favorite, that's how you stay employed. It's these games that you come in as an underdog that, either, like I said, cement the fact that they made the right decision in bringing you down there, or, kind of, like you said, cracks that door open a little bit more and saying, well, is this our guy? I think he's in a great spot. It's 2 coaches. If you're looking at job security, Hugh, believe it or not, probably the most solid job out there besides Kirby Smart, and then the least is Jimbo. It was Billy, but Billy's flipping everybody off as he's moving up the charts.
Yeah, that is great. One last thing that you just made me think. If you would have asked me to bet the mortgage, who's undefeated in this ball game, A&M after their first 3 or Auburn, I would have said A&M.
It's just one of them years, man. It's been one of them years, and it's going to continue. And that's why I think we look back 2023 season before we went and lost the divisions and everything like that. This is turning out to be one of the most wildest years so far. So there's going to be some upsets, and it may be this Saturday.
And here's a key one, Shane. Arkansas at LSU, another West battle. The Razorbacks need a win.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman needs a win here against a rival, the Golden Boot. And it not sure about Rocket Sanders, if he's going to play or not. It sure as hell would help if we could get him back in the lineup, even though we're deep at running back for Arkansas. But let's kick it over to Sam here, Shane, where you can tell, and this is exactly what we said, and people jumped on us. We don't want Sam out or anything, but you lose a game you're not supposed to, then all of a sudden, fans they're hitting the panic button. They haven't even gotten SEC play. What I mean? They can erase all that though with a big win. But they gotta stay off that social media.
Adversity is just a part of football. Any level you play. What have you learned about dealing with adversity in your 4 years as a head coach that's perhaps new from your time as an assistant?
I'll be honest with you. It's hard to block out your 15-second decisions. There's a lot of stuff goes through your mind. Well, if it doesn't work, where's this put us at? Where's this is? Because if it doesn't work, you're going to get a lot of questions about it. And if it does work, you're not probably going to get any, you know. And so I think, that's what I kind of went with analytics a little bit, and then going, okay, I'm going to do what the book says, unless, this, that, and the other. And I got beat after not going it on for 4th and 1, not taking a field goal. This, if it doesn't work, you're going to get smoked. And so I said it before, and I'm just going to decide what I think at the game time and what I'll do. But I think that's the one thing I've learned is that you make a decision, it better work. And so you have to maybe the preparation of that particular moment. We've been really good on the goal line. We just haven't been very good on 4th and 1. We've lost 2 of them. And so we've got to get better just in case I feel the need to go for it, that we've got to get it. And so I've learned just do what you think you're prepared and get off the analytics just a little bit.
I mean, I know obviously laser focus, move on to the next game, but how difficult is that actually to do?
Hard. It's hard. I mean, it's not a job. It's my life. It's what you do. It's everybody knows you as a regular person. The kids, same way. It's hard because the addition of social media and the addition of not opinions so much, but negative. Like used to be like, you got to do better or something. It's not you suck, you fat, you this. You know what I mean? It's got the comments have nothing to do really with what happened in the game. It's just you suck. And it's not just me. It's all the kids and all that. So I think it's a time when it's harder to recover from losses if you're a social media person, So, and your best friends will say, man, you guys are going to get them this week. They say, no, oh, by the way, stay off social media. You know what I mean? And so you're going, I have been. So, then you're going, what's happening? The kids are the same way. So I think it's hard. I mean, it is because you want to please the people that are employing you, the team, your wife, the state, the media, and you can't always do that. And that's the hard part about our job. And I would imagine the hard part about being a student athlete. It'd be hard because we all have feelings. We all have, you know what I mean. And when you let people down, you're already beating yourself up on it, and then somebody starts beating the hell out of you with it, and then you know what I mean. I think it's a little bit harder to recover, but they're going to recover as I do. And when I get to that meeting today, it's going to be all about LSU after we get the corrections.
All right, Shane. So, I mean, I sense a guy that's hurting here.
Yeah,
and I don't even think he cares about his job necessarily in a weird sense. I know that probably sounds wrong, but I'm not saying he doesn't care about the Arkansas job or heat he's catching. I think he cares more about his team.
Yeah,
and his kids are probably hurting, and that's probably what's he feels it.
Well, I get it. I totally get it. I mean, people are mean online. Trust us. We know. It's like here I am every mile posting this video. I wouldn't read in any of the comments.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, they're gonna be like, go get it, Shane. You're doing a hell of a job and all that stuff. And then it's like 4 pages of like, this fat ass ain't walking. He ain't sweating enough. And I was just like, what? So I get it. Social media can get in your head. And that's why I don't go to comments that much. That's why I mute conversations because, you may have 98% of the people in your fan base supporting you, but it's the 2% making that noise that sticks with you. And you're just like, well, maybe there is something wrong,
Yeah.
So it's easier if you're an old fart like us and Sam, we're used to mean people.
Yeah.
Kids aren't. Kids taking it personal, and bullying online is a thing. I mean, I've got 2 girls, and it's funny because there's an age gap between them. One, I didn't really have to deal with it, and the second one, there's just mean people out there, especially kids. So, yeah, I totally understand. It's almost like you wish you could just take the phones and remove it away. But it's like Sam said, it's like stay off social media. Well, it's like, well, what are they saying over there? And then next thing you know, you drift over and you're like, damn, I shouldn't have looked, So I get it.
But how about the other side of this matchup, Shane? LSU, huge win last weekend on the road. So now everybody's back on the bandwagon. We're going to win the West. We're the team to beat. But this was a real issue the first week, and maybe that's more about Florida State than anything. Florida State was so good, we disrespected them. Talk about mean fans. Talk about them Florida State people. No. But what did he say right after that? He's like, "We thought we were the champs. We thought we were the damn Georgia Bulldogs." Well, they're probably hearing that now. You are the damn. You're going to take down Georgia. You're going to meet them in Atlanta again. I think the challenge now for LSU is to do it week in, week out, because they've not proven they can do that. Not even last year when they won the West. They were very inconsistent, lost a couple games, probably 2 or 3 they probably shouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
Yet that's how it went down. How big of a challenge do you think that is for LSU against Arkansas, who just lost? You're a huge favorite. You're playing at home. I think everybody's going to be picking LSU, and they're going to be picking them big. And I think this is a game that goes down to the wire.
Do you have examples from throughout your coaching career of teams that maybe didn't do as well as expected right out of the gate, but turned out to be quite formidable, that have been instructive to you as you kind of try to figure out what are the remedies for not starting the way you want in a season?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably, give you a number in 32 years of doing this. The specifics I'd have to take some time to think about. But I think that unless your team is ready-made, and I made it pretty clear with 14 transfers and the amount of freshmen that we were going to have to play, that's a red flag. I mean, if you're really looking at it carefully, that's going to require some tweaking. That's going to require for you to really understand that there's going to have to be some movement in terms of changing direction, with your team along the way. We were able to do that, I think, and I think we're finding the formula for this team. But I think that, most teams that I've had, there haven't been as many that are just add water and just go. They all require a little bit of, changing the formula as the season goes along to get the right mix.
Absolutely. Because Arkansas is still a really good team, and I think BYU's still undefeated. So, I'm not saying that they're going to be national champs or anything like that, but maybe we didn't give them enough credit for being as good as they are, and this is a game they needed to ramp up SEC play. So I think you could spin this multiple ways, but it feels like there's these type of games going around this week. There's teams that are on a up path, and there's teams that are on a down path, and they meet, and I think we truly start getting that separation of the league. Is Arkansas as bad as we think, or is LSU as good as we think? There's a lot of that kind of floating around, but no, I think, again, kind of similar to Alabama talk earlier, I think if you could pull Sam aside and say, hey, you lost one, but it's not going to be an SEC team, you're going to be all right. Yeah, that's all right, because when we hit, nobody remembers BYU if you go out here and you beat LSU. So, I think it's going to be a really, really good game. And if LSU repeats what they did week 1, thinking they're just going to go in there and mop up, and they don't take practice, as strict as they should, or film study as and they'll get exposed. And when you get exposed with another SEC opponent, you lose. So, this is going to be a great game.
We'll take a break from the show to let you guys know we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Don't forget to head on over to mybookie.ag today and use that promo code SEC. That's THAT SEC, and they're willing to give you an instant 50% initial deposit bonus over at mybookie.ag today. There's a link in the show notes. People ask all the time, Shane, how can they help the podcast? This is the number one way to help us this season, keep us independent. Don't let one of these corporations buy the show. You do that by heading over to mybookie.ag today using that promo code SEC, THAT SEC. There's a link in the show notes for you to head on over to mybookie.ag today and sign up for an account. How about this one, Shane? Possibly another great game. Your Missouri Tigers against Memphis in St. Louis. I don't know if you saw this, but because I missed it initially as well. But while you were out on your walk there, ESPN reporting Brady Cook, questionable. Knee issue from a hit he took. He has not practiced this week. So it could be Sam Horn. Memphis undefeated. Top 10 defense, apparently. Thoughts on Missouri? And this is a great comment. I want to kick it over to this one drink comment. He's always got these gold ones, so I think you'll like this one.
When you talk about moving forward, how do you balance, taking the confidence from, a top 15 win like that, and also moving forward and flipping the page, like you said?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between taking confidence and living in the past. To live in the past is to die in the present. You look back on the things that you did good, but you really focus on the things that you got to improve on and go to work on them. And I think that was our mindset yesterday. I know it was in our team meeting, and I know it was at practice. I think, we talk about ignoring the noise all the time, and that's usually when you think of it in a negative context, but you have to really do the same thing in a positive context, because it's all outside influences. The only thing that you can control is your own focus and mental fortitude, and so to get caught up in praise or blame, they're really the same thing either way. You really can't get caught up in either one of them. You got to focus on running your race and focusing on this play, which is the things that we control, and that's the message to our team, good and bad.
Say it again.
To live in the past is to die in the present.
Oh my gosh. Steven Seagal said that once, I think.
All right, Shane. So how about it? Old Drink. He was the bamboo guy too. Remember? But this is a big week for Missouri because all that goodwill's right out the window. You drop this damn game to a Memphis team that cannot be taken lightly, considering they're undefeated.
No, I'm just thinking about. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Senseis and bamboo and the sand. This is the one we talked about some of Sam's history, even though we just said don't live in the past. But in the past, there's been games where he had a high and then it hit a really low the following week because the team wasn't dialed in. So
right,
Memphis is one of those programs. Who was it? Was it Ole Miss in Memphis?
Yeah, they beat.
That was an example. It's like I thought Ole Miss was going to steamroll, and they, obviously they got screwed in that one. But Ole Miss
did
not.
Tennessee. They beat Peyton Manning one year.
Yeah, so I don't like Memphis. I think we wore all orange in that game, and I think we literally burned those uniforms after that. So, but Memphis is going to win some games. They're going to catch some opponents. It's one of those programs that you just can't not perform for. So the quarterback situation is interesting to me.
Right. Could be another Milroe type where, hey, we're all calling for the backup.
Yeah.
Sam Horn comes out here and he struggles mightily.
Let's bring Brady back. Yeah. So start booing Sam when he comes out there.
Or what happens if Sam Horn comes out, lights it up?
Oof.
I mean, there's many ways this could go.
again, part of now that you said that, that's the first thing I thought of was like, well, because that's when you think about quarterbacks you want to get rid of nicely, they always have an injury that pops up, like something they got to have surgery on. They're out 1 to 2 weeks and something like that. So then it doesn't look like this quarterback was benched. It just looks like, hey, we gave this guy an opportunity and hot hand, if he takes it, we'll give him back. But if he doesn't, then we'll go back to our original plan. So the coach, it's almost like a trick that one of these coaches get to use once a year,
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to try this, and if it works, then I don't look like a bad guy because we were worried about Brady's health,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just something to monitor.
Full hat conspiracy. I hope he's okay. Don't get me wrong, because he is coming off the best game he's ever played in that uniform. So you almost kind of wish that momentum would continue. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
And are you a believer at all that, again, it'll be a pro-Missouri crowd in St. Louis, but this is the first game away from the home stadium. I don't know if that really affects Missouri that much, but it's something. I mean, it's technically the first away game. Anything that can mess with the team at all, you think?
Well, traveling's never easy, even though it's just down the street. It's just not sleeping in your own bed. I don't even know if that's even a possibility. I'm not the best on, is it more than 13 miles away? I don't know, but yes, I think kind of removing him. Also, you see this sometimes, like teams don't perform well on their first road trip, because they've kind of gotten out of routine and stuff like that. But I think this is a perfect opponent to work that. It's not another SEC opponent.
Another SEC matchup here, Shane. South Carolina hosting Mississippi State. And this feels like a must-win for both.
Yeah.
Particularly South Carolina because it's at home. They just announced a sellout. Juice Wells is not going to play. He's banged up. He got, obviously hurt against Georgia. But I mean, thoughts on, all the, God, it would just, again, I'm not trying to put bad mojo on them, but if South Carolina does not win this game, the way Spencer Rattler is playing, it'll feel like, I'm trying to think of a comp, but like, an elite high-level quarterback, and you're not putting a team around him. I mean, it would just feel like such a missed opportunity for the Gamecocks here.
Well, right now, is there a better 2-loss team out there? It's like
there can't be. I don't think.
Obviously, their schedule is tough. Their record is not where they want to be, but I don't think any Gamecock fan out there is like, man, we suck.
Yeah.
They're like, man, if we had that game in Columbia, we could have beat Georgia, and if we played North Carolina again right now, by God, we'd whoop them,
Yeah.
I think that's the mentality. So you take all the air out of your balloon if you lose to Mississippi State at home. So pressure, yes, because you got Tennessee looming right after this game. The momentum, the trajectory of this team is on the uptick, even though we lost, Juice. That's a big hit. But again, an athlete that really hasn't been a part of this program all year long anyway. So, the success of this program is hinged on this ball game for sure.
But I would also argue that great opportunity to get some momentum because Mississippi State, I mean, they can't do much right now. They're looking awful. I mean, this is a real opportunity, big win. Spencer Rattler stays hot. Got to get this ground game going. You got to be a little bit more multidimensional. Defense, I mean, your defense could have a field day.
Yeah.
The way Mississippi State is playing. So that's something to consider. How about over at Mississippi State, Shane? The dreaded players-only meeting. This is like the third one. Tennessee had one. Alabama had one. Now we're having them at Mississippi State. That's never.
It's not the only meeting being set up by Will Rogers over here, is it?
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you make of that? And again, they're another one where they catch Alabama next week. I mean, these losses are going to keep racking up if they can't win a game like this.
Lowest of low right now, short of Vanderbilt, is Mississippi State. I think there's nowhere else to. I don't think Arnett loses his job year one. maybe at the end of the season, but definitely not during the season. But that seat gets a lot warmer if you lose this game and lose it big. I think that's one of the things. Like, there's no pretty losses, but if you go down to the final quarter and it's a 3-point game, I think you can kind of forgive that given the roster situation. But if they go down there and get killed, which some folks are expecting to see, who knows? Arnett may not make it through the year.
But maybe this is a perfect time. We can't just completely disregard Will Rogers or anything, but maybe this is the time to fully embrace Mike Wright and let him take a bunch of snaps, see what he can bring to the offense. Because I think Will Rogers is a good player, but I think he's a horrible fit for this offense.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not saying we bench him, but maybe, hell, I don't know, maybe like 60-40 Mike Wright, Will Rogers. And if Mike Wright is, showing something in this offense, maybe we do kind of ride with him. Any thoughts on that? That maybe they just kind of see who's the hot hand and ride it in this matchup.
Team needs a spark, and right now a lot of people are recognizing Wright on the field as a runner,
right?
Not so much as a thrower, and so there's not. You come out. One good thing about that is if you did let him play, and let's say even if it's not successful, let's say he, gets a couple of first downs, moves the chains, that sort of thing. Teams moving forward, we're going to have to really start planning for 2 quarterbacks, and that chews up a lot of practice time, valuable time. So I think in that situation, showing that it can be done is beneficial for Mississippi State. And like you said, who knows, maybe he does catch the hot hand and gives the spark that's needed for this team, because it's not a team that's decimated of talent. It has plenty of talent. Arguably right now the best running back in the country. It's like we just need some other pieces to emerge, and they got them. So, but they're just not getting them the ball, and some of the play calling is, it's head scratching. But one of the beautiful things about Mike Wright is if he doesn't have an option, he's a guy that could tuck it and get 20 yards and keep his offense on the field and his defense off, which is important.
Let me ask you one more thing about South Carolina. I forgot to ask you. You just went into Athens. You just went toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
And went with them till the end there. They kind of fell apart. But does that inspire confidence, you think, in that locker room, saying, hey, we just went on one of the toughest places, the best team, and we were kicking their ass for half? Or does it demoralize you to say we threw everything we had at them, and then by God's second half they just owned us?
No, you went toe-to-toe with 2-time national champs at their place. So, no, those heads aren't hanging low. Those guys, I think, came out. I think the losing juice obviously is a little bit of a stinger because we got to see a little bit of it, man, when he had that touchdown. That's something that these other guys are going to have to step up. And going back, and I don't want to keep going back to that game, but there was a few drops in that second half. I think that's where we're going to be, is like, man, if we can clean that up, we can be a top team in the country, So I think this was a very, very positive week, and going into this one, just don't lose that momentum, don't lose that sight, because there's some big games still ahead.
The final SEC matchup on the slate, Shane, Kentucky at Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to this team last year.
Yeah.
Then we took their best player, and he's our best player now. So I'd be feeling good if I'm Kentucky, but this is a must-win for Mark Stoops. By God, you cannot lose to them two seasons in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Vanderbilt's struggling, not living up to the hype. Thoughts on this matchup?
Is it too early to lock something down, I think the motivation, there's not a lot of motivation going into how many losses Vandy have now? 2 losses?
Yeah, 2 and 2.
2 and 2 Vandy. I mean, most teams are going to have to orchestrate something. Kentucky doesn't.
Yeah.
They just turned the film on from last year. They let Ray Davis lead the prayer at the end of the game. It's like it's there. So the motivation is there to go down there and beat Vanderbilt. So yes, Vanderbilt. The pressure's on Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to have to get their shit together, because if they don't, they're going to get absolutely steamrolled by Kentucky.
Right, because they need to steal essentially like
That's
3 SEC games now after.
Well, we painted a pretty picture of how Vanderbilt could get to a bowl game. Well, that's almost all out the window.
Yeah.
But even if they did win all their non-conference games, we circled Kentucky, we circled Auburn, we circled Mizzou, some of these teams that maybe they could catch them off guard, like Florida and Kentucky last year. But I don't know, man. This is a team that is not living up to its hype. So, and Kentucky's going to be bringing it.
I really want to see Kentucky put together a 4-quarter game, and
Yeah.
I think this is the one where they do it.
Yeah.
They've got to, because it's going to get real after they play Florida.
Yeah.
We can't. Florida's already proven. You don't
Right.
bring your A game, they'll whoop your ass all up and down
Absolutely.
the field. So that'll be something to watch. Tennessee hosting UTSA, brother. Update from UTSA's coach Jeff Traylor. Their star quarterback Frank Harris, day to day, got a turf toe. Yeah, injured his toe. He missed the last game against Army. They lost without him, and he wants to play. Doesn't mean he's cleared, but he wants to play against Tennessee. What's it going to take for you to be hitting that panic button for the Vols in this matchup? Is it like a 7-point game? Is it not a blowout? Is it the offense scores 20 points? I mean, what's it going to take for you to freak out here?
1-3 and out. 1-3 and out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I can almost see this game in my mind as I'm walking through the desert for 13 miles. I got to imagine worst case scenario for this program.
Yeah.
And while I'll never bet on him, because short of them that's where the old injury thing came up. I was like, he got banged up a couple of times, and so I was like, maybe he rolls Nico out and says, we're dealing with some ailments, but I digress. I'm sorry. I'm still a sensitive subject, but
so you're still thinking that Joe Milton is a big problem?
Yeah, not just him.
I think it's the offensive line.
Well, that obviously the offensive line is a big part of it too. It doesn't help that Cooper's still out and whatnot.
The right tackle didn't play.
Yeah,
he was doing something with drugs.
When in Rome. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs.
But I think that's the real problem. And until they get that solved,
I don't know.
It's tough to judge a quarterback.
It's not just that. It's coaching too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we all watch some of the worst play calling that we've ever seen from Josh Heupel.
Yep.
And now he's the guy, he's the guy that, so we got to see some improvement there. And I don't care what you got to do. We have got to orchestrate some first downs because we already know that it's going to be a dink and dunk UTSA. They're going to have 6-minute drives and they're going to slow this game down. And if Tennessee goes 3 and out, then all of a sudden you're late in the second quarter, and you're down, or it's 3-0 or some stupid thing like that. So, yeah, I'm clearly talking about UTSA or whatever airport security we're doing here, but it's just I'm at that point, Mike. Austin Peay was the first team to break me. And then Florida just curb stomped me,
Well, speaking of getting curb stomped by injuries, Georgia playing UAB. Kirby says is the longest injury list he's ever seen. Javon Bullard, Amarius Mims, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Jones. I'm on and on and on. So many Lawson Lucky, Tyron Ingram Dawkins. A lot of guys out for Georgia. Maybe that's why they've not yet hit their stride. But, again, we're not going to learn much about friggin' Georgia playing UAB because UAB, the spread's like 40-something points. But
real quick on the injuries, because I keep hearing, we see Brock out there and we see, what kind of timeline do you think before, this team, obviously we don't know the future, and
right.
Georgia's obviously been really hit with the bug. Even and saw Nick Chubb. I hated to hear that, man, because it was very similar to the one we saw in Neyland. But yeah, it's just like, what is this something that's going to linger for the entire season, or I don't know the timelines on these injuries.
I've heard from Brock Bowers that this is one that could linger the whole year, which is truly unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now he's still out there; he's gutting it out. Amarius Mims, their star tackle. That's a tough one. He's getting the Tua surgery. It's called a tightrope.
Yeah,
where 6 to 12 weeks you could be out. I mean,
yeah.
These are racking up, and this again, Georgia's most talented, deepest roster in the country. But you start, losing star player after star player.
Right.
Javon Bullard's banged up, MVP of the national championship game. These are it's not a concern for UAB, but I think it will be an SEC play.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering because it's just every game. It's like 3 guys are not moving forward.
Right.
So. Yeah, no, I just hate to hear that because you're like 3-time national champs never happen. And if they're out of all the teams out there, it's like if we have to present one from the SEC to compete in the college football playoffs, it's the Georgia Bulldogs, maybe LSU and, some other guys are starting to emerge. But if they come in and they're all on crutches, it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me. I've never seen so many injury bugs at one. Well, who's the strength and condition? Do you even know? Is this? It's not.
No, it's the same guy it's always been.
So it's not a new one. Okay.
No.
That's where you go. That's the progression. Like, who's coaching? Who's doing the off-season stuff here with these boys?
The other thing I want to say about Georgia, I want to see him get hot in the first quarter. I want to see him put up some points.
Yeah,
because we've not had that all year.
Yeah,
and it's not caught up to us yet. But I think some of these road games, maybe Auburn, maybe Tennessee.
Yeah,
if you get down early, Florida, you're losing at halftime. One of these teams gonna make you pay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, last one, Shane. Your Florida Gators hosting Charlotte.
Yeah.
Not going to learn much in this matchup, but just want to see the dominance on the line of scrimmage continue. Graham Mertz continue to keep it up. The defense playing lights out. Hopefully they don't.
I want to see 80 points, Mike. I want to see 80 points. I want to know that since we did lose, at least we lost to the best team in the country, So don't go out here and make this a damn ball game. That's the worst, is when you just had a heartbreaker and then the following week they go 4 quarters with cut off sleeve Johnny over there, whatever, the hedge fund.
What is more painful as a Tennessee fan, Shane, that it seems like Florida always finds a way.
Yeah,
and then they kind of like peter out almost immediately. Is that painful? Or Florida? Maybe this is like the hot team, and it just started in Tennessee, and they make a run and they win the East. After that loss, what hurts more?
What hurts more is them just petering out, them not making a bowl game or something like that. And then we're saying, damn, we really cannot beat Florida, even at their lowest of lows. So that would hurt. But I don't think that's what this team is. Florida, I think they've kind of figured it out. One of the things you said is, maybe as you or Steve was talking about the whole thing, like the Billy and the patience, and we're starting to see fruits of that labor, and it's like, oh damn, this could work,
right?
And they're still bringing in the recruiting classes; they're just going to get better and better, and that's scary, as a Vol fan, that it's already hard enough with Georgia in this conference, and South Carolina, now Mizzou and Kentucky. It's like, now we got Florida coming back, so
yep.
Of course, divisions are going away. It doesn't matter, I guess, but I'm sure they're going to find a way for Tennessee and Florida to play.
Yeah.
So,
well, buddy, I can't thank you enough for actually making the trip after that walk. I didn't know if you'd make it, but you soldiered on. We made it to the end. You can go home and go to bed.
Dude, I'm out. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. We may have Steve back on tomorrow.
Well, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.
Oh, real quick, I forgot to do the MyBookie.
Yeah.